Hi, this is Bob with today's 10-minute tour, and today we're going to investigate a real kind of a high-level overview of the accounts payable setup vendor screen. So you go in there that way, and you get a screen with several tabs on it. And as usual, if you stretch it out, it doesn't make a difference. So no need to play with the corners on this one. I'll go through the required stuff, more or less the required stuff anyway. So you put in a vendor number or vendor ID. If you click on this little question mark and point toward it, you'll get some information on it. And it says to enter one with up to 10 characters. And the other thing it gave us in here is a tip. Keep in mind, part of the information entered during invoice entry is numeric, so you may want to consider setting up a numeric vendor ID for easier data entry. I'm going to argue that that's not a good move. We've probably got between 3,000 and 4,000 vendors, and it's awful hard if you had to remember numbers for those. And so instead what we do is we put in typically 3 letters followed by 2 numbers. Now I set that up so it says there's room for 10, so we'll type in 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, and you can see we can only put in 5. That is set up in here under, come on. It's not going to let me because I'm in the middle of it. I'm going to close out of that, then we'll come back in here. I'll get you through this basic stuff. So custom descriptions is where you've got to go look for this, and it's the AP vendor ID, which is right here. Now you can set this to be a different number than what it originally was. So it was originally 10. We changed it to 5. In hindsight, I think I would make it 6 characters. So what we do is we use the first 3 letters of somebody's company name, sort of. So like, for example, Fastenal would be FAS, and we follow it with a 01, 02, 03, and so on all the way up. And we thought, well, 99 numbers is a pretty good crowd of numbers to have. You know, if you got 99 FASs, you'll never hit that high. And what we forgot was we're in Binghamton, New York. Well, there's a lot of BINs. If you live in Philadelphia, there's going to be a lot of PHIs. So in hindsight, I think we would have made that a 6 character. That gives you 1,000 vendors with that beginning 3-letter sequence. So I think you'd be okay there. The other thing I'm going to show you while we're in here are these vendor types. So you can change vendor type 1 through 4. Material, subcontract, equipment, truck, and other. And you can make those whatever you need them to be by changing them here. So that's 2 things that will play into these screens. So back to the vendor setup screen. So in here, we'll use a 3-digit code. So we'll do our BIN01. We'll see what's in there. Binghamton Truck and Tire. So here's the vendor. We put in their address, city, state, zip, phone number, fax number, which we don't use much anymore. A contact email address, a second contact email address if we have it, phone numbers with extensions if we need those, and if you've got it in front of you as an invoice, you'd put in the customer account number. This is where those vendor types come in. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the ones that you can change. Summary is always going to be summary. Credit card is always going to be credit card. You can't change those. So one of the problems is this name is never long enough to really put full company names in a lot. And so a lot of times you got to abbreviate them. Another thing on this screen is this little attachment link. And this tells you you can keep a running record on notes and file links that would show documents, insurance documents, whatever you need. Terms and defaults. So terms, you have standard terms that you set up for your vendors, but these are specific terms for this vendor. So if his payments due 10 days, and you can change this to number of days or other, can't be up top there. 10 days due on the 10th of the month, due on the 10th of next month. That's how it would read. Discounts if you could get them. These are like default GL accounts, default job cost codes, tax group if you had a default tax group for that vendor, default voucher number. We don't use those anymore, but these are all customizable. And we don't use miscellaneous deductions, or if you did, you'd be able to access that. And how they like to be paid. Pay them by check or pay them electronically. Payment settings. We'll go through that at a different time, but there's 3 different settings there, or 1 invoice per payment, which means if they got 10 invoices, you're sending 10 checks. If they're getting paid electronically, you fill this out. You fill out information here on their 1099. It keeps track of that. If you're Canadian, you put Canadian information on this one. I don't know anything about Canadian information, so I'm leaving that like it is. These are all system provided fields, so it's stuff that the system itself assigns. It keeps track of the last check, it keeps track of the last invoice and how much invoices are open and so on. Totals, same thing, the system tracks all this. Insurance, compliance. If you use a compliance module, this keeps track of insurance certificates. And let's see, is that going to show over on my other screen probably? Yes, it does. So this has all their insurance information, what we require. And this is at company level, not at commitment level. Although we do have in here a check for require per commitment. We do that on everyone. We'll get into that more on the future part of this setup. And then miscellaneous compliance, create lien waivers. We don't use lien waivers on our system yet, but that's where we'll set it up. And then custom fields. So you can set up a whole bunch of different custom fields, and you set them up in this screen, I believe, or one similar to it. And you can select when you normally are going to pay that guy. That last one's usually for problem vendors. Whether WBE, is there compliance set up for 10-9 or for W-9s, and do they get paid by American Express in our case? Because we pay a lot of vendors by American Express if we can, since they pay us points. But you could add other fields here that you want to track on them. You know, do you have photos of their driver or whatever you might require? So that's all the basic stuff that we will go over for vendor setup. In a next recording, our next 10-day or 10-minute tour, we'll dig deeper into each of these tabs and show you how to set up that type of stuff a little better. All right, that's it for today's 10-minute tour. We'll see you later. Bye now.